Hello there. So here we are again. Another Ninja Turtles movie that's caught between pissing people off or winning fans over without ever really deciding what to do with itself. I will give it this though. There appears to have been some effort made here, as desperate as it may seem. Out of the Shadows picks up where the previous film left off. However, the first thing you will notice is how it's trying to employ the fan gambit by working in as many characters, items, and ideas from the 80s cartoon, and by extension the whole franchise, into this one film, such as the introduction of characters like Casey Jones, Bebop and Rocksteady, or villains like Krang or Dr. Baxter Stockman, or even larger things like the Technodrome. However, this leads to a larger issue where I feel that although they included these characters in this film, the knowledge of them is cursory at best. Like, the people writing the script for this film simply looked up a wiki of the original 80s cartoon and just tried to throw in as much as they could to placate the fans. This also leads to another issue where the overabundance of villains basically causes them to be in competition for screen time, often to the detriment of all of them. It's pretty much the same problem that we see in The Amazing Spider-Man 2. While it shows that there was an effort made to bring this film franchise more in line with past iterations of the Turtles that fans are more familiar with, the film employs a lot of tropes that are common in a lot of lazily written screenplays, such as characters magically knowing information that they would have no logical way of knowing within their own universe. You have characters being reduced to solely one trait, even if that one trait kind of contradicts the character that they've established in the previous film, as well as lots and lots of forced pathos that basically spells out the morals for the audience, even if nothing in the film actually demonstrates the value of that moral. As a result, this film comes across as fairly predictable. The film as a whole is very reminiscent of Turtles Forever, the big crossover between the 2003 animated series and the 1980s animated series. More specifically, it's reminiscent of the bad parts of Turtles Forever, the parts where the writers had no respect for the original 80s cartoon, and thus decided to write all the characters and anything related to that as a bunch of idiots. That's pretty much this movie. It felt like they brought in someone who only had a passing knowledge of the cartoon from the 80s, and then basically just decided to make a film around that passing knowledge. That said, this film was more enjoyable to sit through than the previous one because it has this weird, silly charm to it that kind of indicates that the people making this film are actually trying to do right by the fan base for a change. Now, it's not perfect, the flaws are clear as day, but here there's just a little bit more passion and a lot less contempt for the fan base in this film than we got in the previous film. Overall, this film feels like a mediocre Ninja Turtles movie, but at the very least, it feels like a Ninja Turtles movie for better and for worse. It was kind of like watching a random episode of the multitudes of animated series without really being familiar with it and just trying to keep up. That's kind of how the storyline felt. Now, the fan service does feel desperate, but it doesn't feel as insulting as I've seen in other films. Turtles fans may have an easier time sitting through this film, however, it's not something I would recommend rushing out to see in theaters. While it's not a complete game changer, it's at least taking a step in the right direction, even if they do trip over themselves as they take that step. All of that said, Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles Out of the Shadows gets a 3 out of 5. So that's it for this episode of Romney's Reviews. Thank you for watching. I'll see you all next time.